Yo, Elliot. So I have this question from our buddy Simon, who says that he's always been a fitness enthusiast. He's been training for many years, but after 5 years of not being in school, he's gone back to college, right? So he's got a particular lifestyle that he's been leading that's conducive to his ability to train in the gym, but now that he's taking on a new responsibility and has a brand new goal in life, which is to do well at school and graduate and go on to whatever career that, that's going to lend him to, training is suffering. I find it interesting because I get a lot of questions like this from brand new fathers who, I've always trained, but all of a sudden now I've got a brand new baby and my wife and I are up all night taking care of the baby and I can't train. Or I've got a brand new career, or whatever the case may be. I mean, life happens and we've got our aspirations with regard to our physique that you don't have time for it. You simply just can't do it, or you don't have the energy. And I think more so than anything, we have to recognize that we have an energy reservoir. We have only a certain amount of energy that can be expended towards the different activities in our life. And you find that life takes over and you don't have the energy to do your workout, especially with the intensity that you've done it with for all of the years leading up to your, this new call to adventure, this transition time in your life. And we all experience this. So how do you commit, right? Because we always want to give a little bit more, go a little bit harder, commit to your bodybuilding and all the goals thereof, and win in life, either with your family, with your career, with school, whatever the case may be. More than likely, you're going to expect me to give you one of those answers that says, just shut off your brain and do it. In fact, I've made videos just like that, right? Successful people do what they have to do, whether they feel like it or not. Well, there's always two sides of the coin, and one very important side of the coin is that we've got to recognize that we have a limited amount of energy. It's just true. It's not sexy, it's not motivating, but it's fucking true. You only have so much, so you've got to allocate it based on what your deepest convictions and values are. That's the very first thing. I mean, before I start giving you advice on how to navigate this specific situation, what we've really got to do very often is come back home and decide what are the most important things to us, to our personhood, to our character, and to our legacy. Once we get in touch with that, we can very easily start dropping a lot of the bullshit that we engage in, like watching TV, playing video games, arguing with people online, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of stuff that we do that does not measure up to our true core values and our legacy, the idea of what we want to leave behind. Right? Now for you, school might have something to do with that. If you have children, I'm sure that has a lot to do with that. When I say that, I mean your legacy. Training, we've got to recognize, is a support activity for our legacy. It's a support activity that is supposed to help us do better at life. That's the point of training. The point of training isn't just a point of training, and it definitely isn't most of what we would call the narcissistic gain from training, right? I've got bigger biceps, I've got leaner abs. Okay, those things are cool, and sometimes they're a byproduct of correct training and genetics. But when it really boils down to it, all that shit goes away, you're going to grow old, and what are you left with? What are you left with when your muscles go away? What are you left with when you become old, when you become feeble, when your body starts to deteriorate? Because that's what it does. And all you've invested in is the building up of your muscular system. Well, if you haven't invested a significant portion of your time into your family, into your career, into your poetry of life, the things that matter to you which are more abstract than your physical, the actual mirror reflection of yourself, then you're going to find that life was a waste. So let me come full circle and approach you from your specific situation, and all of you who are dealing with how do I continue training, continue my commitment to training, and win in life. With the perspective of life is more important, right? Because that's what's left over, your legacy, the people that you've helped and supported, so on and so forth, than what you look like in the mirror, you can now begin to realize that training in its support role should add to your ability to do these things better. Right? If training is not making your life better, it's making your life worse because it's stressing you out because you can't do it, or you're not fulfilling the benchmark obligations that you've created for yourself in the gym, right? You can't bench press 405 anymore, or you've gained a little bit of weight, and you become neurotic about that, it's fucking up the rest of your life. And it comes from a deeper neurosis. It comes from a deeper pathology. But that's not the point of this video. The point of this video is, what do you do? First is perspective. Choose training routines that support you in being better at life. That's what becoming the strongest version of yourself is about. It's about engaging in activities that support your overall big picture. And that's probably something many of us need to look at. What is your overall big picture? During times of high stress, and listen, everyone is different. This is all very subjective. What you've really got to do is become sensitive to the language of your body. I just uploaded a 2-part series to my Elliott Hulse channel called The Language or the Voice of Your Heart and Balls. I'd invite everyone who watches these videos to watch that also. It may be up this week or next week, or maybe, I don't know if it's up yet. So the advice I give you, or what has supported me, might not be exactly what supports you, and that's okay. But become sensitive to and listen to what your body's telling you. There have been times in my life when the best thing for me to do was just to go and run. I hate running, but I found that it supported me in getting through or enduring challenging areas in my life. Interesting how life is also a metaphor. Activities are also a metaphor for character. I needed more endurance at this particular time in my life. I mean, things were changing rapidly. I was having challenges in all areas, and the only thing I really needed was to put my head down and keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Guess what I engaged in? Running. Now, I'll never be a marathon runner, but the physical activity supported my life goals, which was to endure this pain of my life. Then there were times in my life where I had to be a warrior. I had to just sack up, and I had to deny any pleasure whatsoever. And I beat the shit out of myself in the gym. That was what my training was about back then. That's when I was doing strongman training. That's when I was pushing my body to the limits, because my life required that I know how to push to the limits, because it helped develop that character in my walking being that I took with me, and was a tool for me to use in life. And I had to be a fucking warrior. So I trained like a warrior. Pain, I loved pain, because it supported me in that way. Life goes on, you evolve, and the type of training that you need to support you will change. I'm at a time in my life right now where I need to solidify. I need to bring things together. I need to be more holistic in all the pieces that I've been able to achieve in my life. My family, my business, all the achievements that I have that I want to continue to support, and I want to keep them all, and I want to do great with all of them. You know what that requires? It requires a holistic approach to my training. You know what I do a lot of right now? A lot of stretching, a lot of breathing, a lot of corrective exercise. Do you see? And that's where I am in my life, and that's the type of training I have to do. You've got to look at your life, decide what character virtues you need to develop. What parts of your character you need to develop, and add that activity to your training. Do you need more endurance? Go run. Do you need to sack up and just be a fucking man? Then train like a beast in the gym. Abuse yourself with heavier weights or bodybuild. Bodybuilding's abuse. All those reps. Or do you need to breathe, relax, and yield into life and allow the pieces to settle? Well, then you should be doing yoga. You should be stretching and breathing. Body weight integrative exercise. The key here, besides being sensitive to your body and approaching your training from that perspective, is that training, you're always going to have to train, and your training is always going to support your life endeavors. It shouldn't hurt your life endeavors. It shouldn't take away from your life endeavors. But you're always having to train. That's really the point I wanted to make there. I built it up and then I dropped that one, right? I dropped that ball. You're always going to train, because your body is your mind, and it's the only thing that you bring to the table every single time. I've said this in other videos. It's your game piece, right? Elliott Hulse is famous for saying that. It's your game piece. Take care of your game piece. So even if you're 90 years old and you have sex once a month with your wife, and you've got grandkids that bounce on your lap, and you're on Social Security. Right? Life is very different than when you're 17 and you're trying to get into college, and you've got a girlfriend, and you've got parents breathing down your neck, and you're supposed to get a career. Two totally different things. The training should be different, but you should always be training. This guy should be doing Qigong, Tai Chi. This guy should be beating the shit out of himself with tires, stones, and barbells. It just depends. Always train, but choose the right training that supports your life and your legacy. Done. Yo, Elliot,